Hey everyone, welcome back to Strange Mind 6. I'm your host Ruby, and today we're going to be getting back into Creepers, Mirror Mirror by Edgar J. Hyde, Volume 10. But before we begin, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And without further ado, my dear friends, grab a snack, grab a drink, or sit back and relax, and let's get to it. Chapter 6, Keeper of Lost Souls. The music box is in the study, I think, said Maya. As the words left her mouth, she suddenly knew where they would find Sweetie. Danny, why don't you take Sophie upstairs to the bedroom, and I'll bring up the ballerina. But Danny started to protest, then seeing the look of warning on Maya's face, decided not to say anything else and took the young girl upstairs. Maya pushed open the study door gingerly, afraid of what she might see. The room was quiet, the mirror calm, and the music box was on the table where she had left it. She picked up the little box and looked at it carefully. I wonder, she thought, then decided to go with her instincts and wound up the music box. As the tune started to play, she replaced the box on the table and turned to look at the mirror. Once again, a mist appeared to coat the exterior of the mirror, clearing to reveal the little girl who had appeared before. On the girl's knee, Maya saw what she had known she would. The little girl had Sweetie. But you can't have her, Maya started, not even sure if the girl could hear her or not, but unable to control herself. She's my little sister's puppy. She's so upset that she's missing. You have to give her back. The girl in the mirror slowly raised her eyes to meet Maya's. And just why should I give her back? She has my doll. Maya stepped back in amazement. She didn't steal your doll, Maya said angrily. Someone put it in her room. How could she steal something that lives in a mirror anyway? It doesn't make any sense. And just what does make sense to you, Maya? I mean, you are speaking to a mirror, aren't you? How do you know my name? Who are you? What's going on? Why are you doing this to my family? The girl smiled again. Oh dear, we are upset, aren't we? If you'll take the time to listen, I'll answer you as best as I can. I know your name because you've been in here so many times before, and your sisters do call you by your name, you know. To answer your second question, my name is Sarah, and you've already guessed who I really am. The Keeper of the Mirror, or the Keeper of Lost Souls. Anyway, seeing as I am one myself, I'm not doing anything to your family. You girls started all this by playing the music box. It's been the same for centuries. If someone plays the song in the music box, it awakens the mirror, showing all the awful deaths it has witnessed over the years. How many have you seen so far? 2? That means you've got about another 2,375 to go. Oh dear, you will be frightened by the end of it all, won't you? Maya was struggling to keep her composure, but she knew If she wanted to get the puppy and return to the family, at least some normalcy to the family, she had to get as much information from the girl as possible. You said lost souls. What did you mean by that? She managed to ask. The girl looked up from stroking the dog's head. Oh, you know, souls that have never found complete rest because of the way they died. People who have had violent and unnecessary deaths, and whose families sometimes carry a burden of guilt. That sort of thing. I myself was brought up in this house back in the 1800s. My mother was the housekeeper, though she was treated, as was I, more like part of the family. We were happy here, you know, the two of us. My father had died of tuberculosis the year after I was born, so Mother was extremely lucky to find this position, and with such a nice family. Anyway, it all went really well until she started her tryst, the new gardener. I had never liked the man, but I suppose my mother was feeling a bit lonely, so she started going for walks with him and sometimes spent time with him on her day off. He knew I didn't like him. The feeling was mutual, actually. And sometimes he would tell my mother lies about me and my behavior to make her mad. It all came to a head the day I walked into the kitchen and found him shaking my mother violently, shouting at her that she would have to make her choice. Of course, I had no idea what the argument was about. I just knew that I had to make this evil man stop hurting my mother. I shouted at him to leave her alone, but he ignored me, so I ran at him and pounded his back with my fists. He was such a big man, though, that my punches had no effect, and he continued to shake my mother, getting more and more angry all the time, and so I went to the kitchen table and picked up the biggest knife I could. I ran at him, shouting the whole time to leave my mother alone, but when I lunged at him, he jumped out of the way so quickly that the knife plunged not into him, but into my mother. "You've killed your mother! You've killed her!" he shouted at me. I can still hear his voice to this day, and I drew back in horror, still holding the blood-spattered knife. My mother was lying on the stone floor of the kitchen, blood flowing from her wound. "She's dead!" he kept shouting. "You've killed your own mother!" Him shouting at me and seeing my mother on the ground is the last thing I remember before I died. Maya gasped and stepped toward the girl. "But, Sarah, it was an accident. You didn't mean to kill her, and that's all you remember?" "Yes," replied Sarah. I could hear the tune played by the music box. It was one of my mother's favorites, and she was playing it in the kitchen that day. The mirror you see in front of you, which dates back before even my time, judging from the scenes I've witnessed it replaying, was hanging in the large hall just outside the kitchen. For some reason, it took my tortured soul into it, and I am forced to witness the same horrific scenes it replays over and over again. Every time someone plays that tune, there can never be any rest for me, and I don't deserve it anyway. Sarah, looked so sad that Maya almost pitied her. "There must be something we can do to help you," she said gently. "You can't spend the rest of eternity like this, reliving these horrors every day of your existence. There must be something, Sarah. Only I don't know what." As Maya finished speaking, Sarah's face started to fade. The mist returned once more before finally disappearing. And leaving the mirror as normal. "I've heard it all before," she said, nearly gone now. "I'll be back, Sarah. Don't give up hope," Maya was saying, hoping the young girl could still hear her. And she would. She vowed to herself. She genuinely wanted to help Sarah and release her from the grips of the lost souls. She didn't know what could be done to help, but she wouldn't give up until she'd thought of something. And that, my dear friends, is the end of chapter 6. Tune in next video. This has been Ruby, signing off.